Hello and welcome to Unapologetic, the UK podcast on politics, news and stuff from a right-of-centre viewpoint. We've got a massive team in tonight, loads of us here, and we're just going to talk you through them. First of all, we've got, of course, our classic Sam.
Hi.
We've got special Susan.
Oh, that makes me doesn't sound very good.
It's not special Susan, it's special Susan.
Oh, I don't know, but hi.
We've got our elder statesman Jonathan.
Good evening.
And we've got, I'm not allowed to call him Little Ben apparently, even though he's the youngest here, we've got Big Ben.
Hello.
I think what we need is like a bonging sound. Where every time Ben speaks, we play a bonging sound.
Please don't.
Okay, guys, we've got lots to talk to tonight. But first of all, to the people who are listening, welcome to 2020. What a fantastic new year it's going to be. Anybody want to give a message to our three listeners, whatever it is, for New Year? Jonathan, got anything special to say?
Happy New Year.
Oh, I love it. Sam?
Wear sunscreen.
Susan?
Recycle.
And Ben?
Packers for the Super Bowl.
Okay, there you go. So loads of special news. Now, you might have seen that some of us actually went out on New Year's Eve, got a little bit tipsy and did a podcast from the pub. So sorry about that. We'll try not to do it again unless we feel like it, and then we will. Anyway, tonight we've got loads of things to talk about. The first one is we're going to talk about the Labour leadership election, because of course we are. We're a UK podcast and it's interesting stuff and funny stuff too. So we're going to, what I thought we would do is go through the different candidates and see what we thought of them. So first of all, we're going to talk about what I think is the most boring candidate of all. Yeah, somebody's just showing me something that's popped up on my screen that shouldn't have done, but it doesn't seem to have caused any problem, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, so as I was saying, the first one is Clive Lewis. Very boring. He's been nominated by nobody, and they need to be nominated by people. He's been nominated by nobody, so he's really the underdog. But he has got one declared support. I don't know who it is, but one MP has said, yeah, all right, whatever, Clive. So what have I got here? And all these rundowns I nicked from ITV, so that's where that comes from. It says, if Clive Lewis is to be elected leader of the Labour Party, it will certainly be viewed as a surprise result, especially as he's got no nominations. Despite being the shadow Treasury Minister, the 48-year-old is relatively inexperienced in Parliament, having only been an MP for 4 years. He is passionate Remainer on the left of the party, as confirmed by his association with the Love Socialism, Hate Brexit campaign, aptly named. And since he's been elected as MP for Norwich South in 2015, Lewis has been tightly linked to the Corbyn movement, but he slowly began to distance himself from it. So what do you make of Clive Lewis, Sam?
Is he the money shop guy? I reckon Clive Lewis is some sort of money guy, isn't he? Oh, that's Martin Lewis.
Ladies and gentlemen, the only blonde in the room.
Money saving expert.
Yeah, I know Martin Lewis.
Yeah, but to be fair, if he was like the money saving expert guy, he might have got a few more votes.
I'd vote for the money saving guy as the leader of the Labour Party. Definitely, that's the first time they've ever saved any money, wasn't it? What do you make of him, Susan? Do you know anything about him at all?
I have no idea about him, but I feel really sorry for him that he's only got he's got no nominations and only one person voted for him.
He obviously wants to be the underdog. Or
I just feel that's really sad.
maybe they just all hate him.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got the entire Labour Party, Parliamentary Labour Party, I know it's a
It's
lot smaller than it was, but if you've got the whole Labour Party and none of them want him, what do you think, Jonathan?
If you can't get one person, you're pretty much on a hygiene to nothing, aren't you, really?
Yeah, although everybody laughed at Corbyn.
Yeah, they still do.
Come on, Big Ben, what do you think?
Bong.
It's not going to get old, that.
Well, interestingly, I'm just having a quick look at him because I've never heard of the bloke. And it says he served a 3-month tour of Afghanistan with Operation Herrick. So, to be fair, I'll be prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt, but apart from that,
Why only 3 months?
You're
they do 6 and 9
altogether
months,
too cerebral for this blogcast. You know that. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to see these guys, right, to see the difference. Our elder statesman Jonathan sitting here with a bunch of scrappy papers full of notes.
Yeah, but
and
he is
Ben is operating from a glossy iPad. Is it an iPad?
Yeah.
An iPad, glossy iPad. Absolute millennial if ever I've seen one.
But then Jonathan is in smart suit from coming from a lodge dinner, so...
That's right. Jonathan's come from the lodge, straight from the lodge, and Ben's here in his Packers shirt. I like it. No, we got all sorts on this blog, haven't we? Right. So, Clive Lewis. So I missed anyone?
The reason it was a 3-month tour, I don't know for certain, but it probably because he would have been with the Royal Air Force rather than the Army. The Army tends to do 6 months, and the RAF tends to do 3.
He went to Sandhurst though, and do they do RAF? I thought that was just officers.
Don't. If he went to Sandhurst, he's Army.
So, I wonder if he's had some sort of honourable discharge or something.
No.
Not that we're suggesting he has. Quickly, call the lawyers. All right, so moving on from boring Clive Lewis to Lisa Nandy. So Lisa Nandy, unlike Clive, has got some nominations, 6 nominations, 10 other MPs have declared support. So, notably, John Cruddas. The Wigan MP and former Shadow Cabinet Minister Lisa Nandy has vowed to do things differently compared to the current leader. She'd have to, wouldn't she? If she is to succeed him. Miss Nandy said it was important for the next Labour leader to connect with the parts of the country outside of London in order to regain power. She launched for the Centre for Towns think tank, fascinating name there, something which could give an advantage in understanding why voters in former industrial Labour heartlands switched to the Tories. So Lisa Nandy, what do you make of Lisa Nandy, Jonathan?
Makes an interesting anagram.
Which is what?
What's that then?
Work it out.
They can't work it out.
Oh,
Yeah,
dear.
go on. I'm not
No,
good at
we're
it.
moving on.
Sam thought Clive Lewis was the money shop guy. She's not working out any anagrams. What do you make of her, Ben?
I haven't seen much of her. I think the problem is with a lot of these Labour candidates, they're absolute bloody nobodies. I've seen her on Question Time a few times, and she's very uninspiring and says a lot of stuff that is mind-bogglingly stupid. So I don't particularly have high hopes for her, unfortunately.
I forgot to do Ben's bong.
Yeah, you did. You've already forgotten the bong. It didn't take long, but I forgot to call him Big Ben. So it's completely failed.
You just can't get the start.
This entire branding thing has completely failed.
We had a whole theme and everything.
So what do you make of her, Susan?
Of course she's got to do things differently because they lost ridiculously, didn't they? And I don't like the fact that she has to do a think tank to find out why they lost in the villages and the towns. If you've got to do a think tank to wonder why you lost in those areas, then it's a bit concerning.
They're still in denial. That's the problem.
And they're talking buzzwords rather than... And
Yeah.
it shouldn't be about winning back voters, it should be about finding out how you can better the country.
Yeah, we
I
got
know
smashed in the north because nobody believed we'd do
Yeah.
Brexit. It's that
It's
simple.
quite obvious.
I could charge her much less than a think tank to tell her that. Anyone else got any comments? What do you think, Jonathan?
Blah.
Okay, blah it is. Let's move on then. So next one is Jess Phillips. So Jess Phillips, 7 nominations, 12 declared supports, so the biggest of the 3 so far. For a backbench MP who has never held a senior role within Labour, Jess Phillips' public profile is huge. She's possibly most known for her passionate, forthright and often funny House of Commons speeches, which have been known to go viral on social media. Ben will know what that is. It's possible for that reason she has almost 352,000 followers on Twitter, making her the most popular on social media out of the contenders. But there is a concern she may not be popular among the Labour membership due to her outspoken criticism of Corbyn. What do you think, Ben?
I have to admit, and don't shoot me down, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for her. Because I think she says what she thinks. She hails from my hometown of Birmingham. But my issue with her is, and this is by her own admission in Parliament, she doesn't properly understand parliamentary systems. She doesn't understand how things work. She doesn't understand what due process is. And that worries me, because you can't be a serious leader of a political party in Parliament if you don't understand those procedures.
But can't a leader surround themselves with old hands and experts so they can show leadership and other people can show the correct patterns and pathways?
They can if they want to lose an election.
I like it. What do you think, Jonathan?
One of the interesting things about her is sort of banging on about how sort of working class she is and the background of sort of the docks and all the rest of it, and then ending up representing Birmingham, which is about as far from any docks as you can possibly get.
There are canals. There are canals.
Yeah.
More canals than
More
Dennis.
canals.
Nice burger joints on them canals as well. Notice I know the food. So now I've noticed that there's a few female candidates and a lot of people in Labour are keen to see a female leader for the first time in Labour. Now we don't support that nonsense, that positive discrimination. So we're not going to talk to the girls about what they think on this one because we don't care. No, I'm joking. Susan.
Excuse me.
Susan, I wouldn't dare. What do you think?
Do you know what? I actually really don't like her. She's the only one I know very well enough, and I actually don't like her. I don't even know what it is. I don't like the way she employed her husband, for one, on taxpayers' dime to do a job that he wasn't qualified for or skilled for. That doesn't sit well with me. I like an outspoken person, and I don't agree with the whole it's got to be a woman. It just has to be the best person for the job. But I just don't like her.
No, I mean, was she the one that was on the TV with Rees Mogg?
Yes, she was.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought. I mean, they were good on that together. The way
she's not a complete idiot.
Yeah,
I don't think.
what I don't like about her is that she's really just a bit like in your face sometimes, and she tells lies. Like she's been caught out. I followed her on Twitter, and she's been caught out a number of times. Like I think there was a time when she said that she'd been handing out things at a kid's school for the food bank, and then people were like, the school found out the school was closed and stuff, and were like, why are you lying? And then she was saying like, oh, you know, I can't really afford a microwave, and that's what's being like being poor.
A printer.
Printer, that was it. Yeah. And then everyone was like, what are you talking about on the salary you're on and your husband and stuff? She just
and the printers get charged for expenses anyway.
Yeah, and she just pretends like she knows all about poverty and stuff. And just because, you know, you've got a bit of a Brummy voice and you say you represent Birmingham doesn't make you understand poor people.
I'm not sure she's got a Brummy accent.
She definitely does.
Definitely has.
Well, but in her favour, she understands that Corbyn was a nightmare and none of the others seem to. I mean, if they keep trying to cling to Corbyn,
yeah, but she's only
good for them. I think
she's
it's
exactly
great.
the same as him. She's exactly the same in him in belief-wise. She's just thrown him under the bus again.
Yeah.
Because she thinks it's appropriate to, and it's going to win her votes and curry favour with her.
I think what strikes me about her is, and I'm at risk of sounding a bit rude here, when I look at her and see her in part, she might be a great constituency MP, I wouldn't have a clue, but when I see her in Parliament and when I see her talking, she strikes me as someone who doesn't actually know what they're talking about or what they're doing. It'd be like if somebody dropped me into astrophysics at uni, I wouldn't have a clue what I was doing. That's what she strikes me as, that kind of person who is a bit lost.
And I think as well, she sort of strikes me as the sort of person that you'd see on a kebab shop on a Friday night and would punch you in the face for looking at her funny.
She definitely...
You would punch her in the face?
No, she would punch me. She'd be like, what are you looking at?
She definitely...
She get punched a lot in
I bet you've got printers and I can't afford them.
I don't know what kebab shops you're all going to, but I'd advise ones in nicer neighbourhoods.
Well, this is Birmingham.
Excuse me.
All right, so we're moving on to one of the big dogs, if you like, and this is Keir Starmer. 26 nominations, easily tops the polls. 29 other MPs have declared support. The human rights lawyer who made the Queen's Counsel in 2002 served as head of the CPS and accepted a knighthood in 2014. Many have long thought Keir was the likely successor to Jeremy Corbyn. The 53-year-old has only been an MP since 2015, but his relative inexperience in Parliament has not stopped him rising through the ranks. His very senior role ended up with the Labour Party shadow Brexit secretary, and the stance he's taken while in the job could be to his detriment as well as to his benefit. It depends on how you want to look at it. He's urged the party not to lurch to the right and said the case for a bold and radical Labour government is as important as ever. So Keir Starmer, and I think he's the favourite at the moment, which is, you can see why.
By the unions as well. Isn't he?
So, what do you make of it, Susan?
I think anyone that rises that quickly is either really, really good or really, really creepy. And time will tell, I guess, which one he's going to be.
Which do you think it's going to be then? You
Creepy.
just had to be creepy. He doesn't seem creepy. He just seems boring to me.
I think he seems alright actually. I think he's the best to have a bad bunch for them.
Yeah,
I mean, for the Conservative Party, he's our least favourite because he's semi-competent. But for the Labour Party, I think he's a bit.
That's a picture.
Compared to the others.
He's in a shallow gene pool, to be fair, of other people. So you know.
It's a little surprise that.
I'm not sure you can say that. Don't say that.
Why can't you?
Oh, maybe you can. But I don't know what you're allowed to say anymore and what you're not. Ben, what do you think of him?
I have to say, I think I agree he's the best of a bad bunch. The problem is, the stuff he's saying, it's the same old hat that we've had for the last how many years with Corbyn. It's about all this we need new radical government with new ideas, but ultimately, it's just going to be exactly the same. So I think he's trying to frame himself as something different to Corbyn when he's probably going to be entirely the same.
I mean, I don't know why they keep pretending that rolling back to the 70s is radical and new, but I'm not sure that it is. What do you think, Jonathan?
Oh, well, I mean, the thing about him is that he's just bland. I mean, shadow Brexit secretary. I mean, he'd be better off being a shadow breakfast cereal.
Or just a shadow.
Which breakfast cereal should he be as a shadow?
Cocoa Pops.
Cocoa Pops? I don't know. Well, I think Shreddies is the way to go.
He's extremely intelligent, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a clever bloke.
And he's got a really cool name. Like it sounds really like dark, doesn't it? Mysterious, like Keir Starmer.
No,
like a film
that's another
star.
reason to hate
Or a
him.
spy.
Or a spy, yeah.
No, that's another reason to hate him, because anyone whose parents named the kid after Keir Hardie, who's one of the bozos who set up the Labour Party, Keir.
I was going to pull you up on Bozo, but then I realised there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, all right. So moving on to there's two to go. So next one is Emily Thornberry, nominated by 2 people. 2 more have declared support. I think it's 2 more rather than the same 2. I'm not. Who knows? So it says Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry is the race's most experienced MP, having been the representative for Islington South and Finsbury since 2005. She is also the candidate with the most experience facing Prime Minister Boris Johnson across the dispatch box. Mr Johnson was her counterpart when he served in Theresa May's cabinet as Foreign Secretary, and the pair had several heated rows. Miss Thornberry, one of Corbyn's closest allies, in an article for The Guardian touted her credentials in facing the PM as a reason she should be leader. But she has the same problem as Sir Keir, in that she fervently backed remaining in the EU and is a London MP. So Emily Thornberry, what do you think, Jonathan?
Well, she recently accused the Prime Minister of sunning himself drinking vodka martinis in the Caribbean instead of dealing with the fallout from the death of an Iranian official. She's
right?
Exactly. I mean, what would your reaction be? Just carry on drinking? Yeah. I mean, who cares about an Iranian official?
No, wait. We're getting to that later.
I know.
Yeah. You can't jump subjects. You know he gets fussy about this.
Yeah, don't bring out my. You know I'm on the spectrum. Don't start me off.
But Emily, I mean, if that's the sort of stuff that she's going to, really troubles her, she is not leadership material.
Yeah, I mean that annoys me though when they moan about each other going on holiday. I mean, are they never allowed to go away?
Well,
something's always happening.
It's a ludicrous.
Whenever you go away, that's when something's going to happen, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but
just sod's law.
In this instance, it's a nothing happened.
Nothing.
It's
happened.
a bit of foreign news.
Sam, what do you think?
I think she is very Corbynite, and I think that if she wins, that'd be good for the Conservative Party. And also, I wish that she was named after that kids show, The Wild Thornberrys, when I was a kid. If she was
Maybe she is. Who knows?
You're on one tonight, aren't you?
The Wild Thornberrys. What do you think, Susan?
You know the film The Grinch, when he stands above the mountain and shouts out, hate, loathe. When he gets to the
Yeah.
loathe part, that's exactly how I feel about this woman. I hate her. I absolutely loathe her. All she ever did during the elections was lie, connive, call people idiots for not knowing what they were going to vote for.
Isn't she the one who said some of the racists because they had the UK flag? That was her, wasn't it?
Absolutely loathe this person, I do, and I don't often say that about anybody.
She also did a sort of 15-minute speech when she sort of, got elected, which was kind of irrelevant, and
She
it
is
just
irrelevant.
went on forever and ever and ever.
I don't know, I really hate this person.
Ben, what do you think?
Well,
Out of all of them, she.
remembered.
I'm never going to escape. Out of all of them, she is by far my least favourite. I think she has such a bad view of the average British person. And this harks back to what you were saying, Susan, how she was saying there was some implication about how white van men and people who had the England flag outside their house were incompetent racists and whatnot. I think it really showed the calibre of her as an individual because she's completely missed the mark with who her electorate is. And where is she the MP for again? Islington. No, that's Jeremy
Islington
Corbyn.
South.
Islington South and Finsbury.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, if you're going to insult people who have working class people with white vans, Islington South and Finsbury is not the place to do it because that is
I'm not
your.
sure anywhere there's a place to do it except maybe Cambridge.
Central.
Central Cambridge. They'd probably vote you in if you said
Have
that
you
in
ever been
Central
to
Cambridge.
Islington?
I have been to Islington.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like the parade of shops is like Cambridge.
Yeah, it's very gentrified.
It wasn't always. Okay, so moving on to the last candidate, Rebecca Long-Bailey, nominated by 9 people, 14 have declared support. So, notably, this one is supported by none other than Diane Abbott. So this is another one, I don't know if that's a benefit.
It's a bit of a damning
Yeah, it's like, oh
indictment.
no, Diane, don't tell them that you support me. This is another of the racist favourites, but that is more because of her association with
The
Corbyn.
racist favourite, did you say?
No, the races, as in the favourites
Oh,
of this
yeah.
race, not racist favourites. Races, apostrophe
They
S
have their own
favourites.
polls.
But that is more because of her association with Corbyn and the makeup of the left-leaning membership who elected him twice. Many of the party's more than 500,000 members, those who will eventually elect the leader, joined the party because of Corbyn, and it is believed that many of them want Labour to move on in his image. But it's not just membership who must back her. She needs 22 Labour MPs or MEPs to support her, and it is not certain they will. Rebecca Long-Bailey, what do you think, Sam?
I really dislike her in the same way that Susan dislikes the other one, because she did. I definitely remember that Brexit interview she did, and she sounded like the most. I know it sounds horrible to slag someone off, but she did sound like an absolute moron when she was speaking. She just sounded like she didn't have a brain cell in her head. And how is she going to lead the
What was
Labour
it she
Party?
said that made you think
I
that?
can't, it was just
Mincing
something really
words.
stupid, wasn't it? It was like the Brexit. She was just like, I don't really know the answer to that, and we don't know what we want to do about that. And she just sounded like an idiot.
What do you think, Ben?
Bong.
I getting very old very quickly.
I still find it quite funny. I still find it quite funny. Go on, Ben.
I think again it's a case of one of the candidates being an absolute nobody. I think God knows why she is so popular. Because I mean, I remember at the start she was being touted as the next leader,
I think a lot of people still think it's her with Emily Thornberry as a deputy.
and I cannot believe that she's actually come this far, because she has no clue what she is talking about.
Yeah, but isn't that really what the vast majority of the Labour Party are looking for? It's someone who is going to be pretty similar to Corbyn,
Possibly,
and in
yeah.
her case blames the whole thing on the press. This is why they lost, because of the press, not because their policy.
Oh yeah, because all the press was on the Conservative side. BBC, they were all totally on the Conservative
exactly.
side.
Well, this is the thing as well. I think it was today I read it that she was in the newspaper saying that Corbyn had actually achieved a victory from this election, and it was the most crushing defeat they've had in years.
Yeah.
But I think from the stock of candidates they've got this year, I think with the exception probably of Keir Starmer, who I don't think is a terrible bloke, I think it's a really, really poor bunch and a damning indictment of the Labour Party that we've got such a bad group of candidates to pick from.
Okay, well look, what you guys don't know is that actually a hell of a lot of Labour Party members watch our podcast and really care about what we say and think we've got useful things to say to them. And so in that spirit, I'd like each of you to recommend to the Labour Party, very briefly, which one of the candidates they should pick and briefly why. I'm going to start with Jonathan.
Well, strangely, I'd go with Rebecca Long Bailey for them, because she's going to win it. She's only got to get a few more MPs to get nominated. She'll get the second place, and at that point the party kicks in and the party will go with her.
Okay, Sam, who do you recommend?
They should vote for Dennis Skinner. Oh wait, they can't. We beat him. That was a happy day. There was quite a lot of happy days on that election. We have to glow a bit. I mean, we haven't said like we won and how great it was. We haven't even said that in the
No,
beginning.
we haven't really. It was a fun day, but I think gloating is not a good look. So come on, Sam, who do you recommend?
Diane Abbott.
Oh, she's not even on the list.
So you should encourage her to stand.
All right, Susan, who do you pick?
Emily Thornberry.
Okay.
Because that way she's hated, they'll be useless, and they'll just bumble along and lose at the next election.
But she might make an interesting TV show.
You're supposed to give them genuine advice, not hate-filled advice. All right, Ben, who do you pick?
Bong.
I would recommend Emily Thornberry. What's her name?
Thornberry.
I think she holds particular sway with the working class, especially with white van men. So I think with her at the helm, I think they would win an absolute landslide. So best of luck to Emily Thornberry.
Okay, and my choice is Rebecca Long Bailey, simply because she has been recommended by Diane Abbott, and that's a woman who knows what she's about.
She's done the statistics.
She's cracked it, yeah.
A winner.
She's done
She's
the
cracked
numbers.
it.
I actually feel a little bit sorry for Diane Abbott. Just putting it out there.
That's
Because
the last time we invite Sam.
no, I know like she does say really stupid things, but she's just always made fun and ridiculed of it. And actually, you know, people have got their weaknesses.
She
You know what?
deserves
Because when you
it.
tell other
She
people
deserves
what
it.
to do with their lives, you better be pristine before you do that.
The problem
I
is-
think people don't have a lot to say about her as an MP, but I actually think they're mildly fond of her as an
Yeah.
individual, even back to her days when she was on with Portillo on whatever that
I'd
was she
miss
was
her
on.
if she wasn't in politics, actually.
I think there is a lot of
Genuinely
abuse that
would.
she's had that has been absolutely appalling. The amount of racial abuse she's received
Yeah,
is
that's unacceptable.
absolutely
Yeah.
bang out of order.
But anyone's
But the
open to
stuff-
some criticism for the
exactly.
things they say.
The stuff she has said in the past, I mean, what was it she said about white people? That white people, they love to divide and conquer. The stuff she says, she's not an innocent, bumbling idiot. She knows full well what she said, and she's been bang out of order on a number of times, which is why, if people are going to take a mick out of her for being a bit of a prat, then fair play to them, because she's done it exactly the same way.
Harsh Ben.
Yeah, go
Big
on,
harsh
Ben.
Ben.
I'm sorry.
BHB.
I've got absolutely no time for the woman, I'm afraid.
Okay, we're moving on to our second subject, which is the crisis in Iran. Now, you'll be forgiven for thinking that World War III had started with the same leftist publications, leftist pundits, and some millennials, Ben, who seem to have reacted to the tension between America and Iran as if they think literally apocalypse is around the corner. But with Iran threatening a US embassy in Iraq, President Trump clearly thought he did not want this to be another experience as previously, and so he surprised everybody by blowing up Qasem Soleimani. Am I saying that right, Jonathan? Soleimani, thank you. Trump then warned Iran that if they reciprocated, his response would not be insignificant. Iran did respond by shooting some missiles which hit some dirt and harmed nobody. The world seems split by people who think Trump has done the wrong thing, escalating tensions and proved himself an unstable madman, and others who think he has done a great thing, taking out a monster terrorist, enemy general, while making it clear that the deterrents are real again. So suddenly everybody is a foreign affairs expert and a Middle East expert, and we shall be no different. What do you think of this, Jonathan?
It's a load of fuss over nothing, really. But if you're going to deal with terrorism, the people you want to take out are those that have ability, and this guy undoubtedly did, and those who are fanatical. And he was the combination of the two: fanatical and had ability. If he's fanatical and incompetent, no, don't bother. Just leave him in place. Or he's he's competent but not particularly fanatical. Leave him in place. But this guy was a combination of the two, and taking him out, it'll be very, very difficult to replace someone with his ability and his fanaticism. So he's a sad loss to terrorist organisations in the Middle East.
Do you know that statement was coming dangerously close to being that one about the known unknowns and the unknown known knowns that is famous that was made that time?
Oh, I was going to get onto that.
Sam, what do you think?
Well, I think that they shot that Ukrainian plane down.
Okay.
And I'm surprised not more's been said about that in the news, because, if a plane leaves Iran full of Ukrainian passengers and then miraculously crashes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bit weird. And also, I don't really feel very... don't get me wrong, I am worried about it, because no one wants a massive war where loads of people die, and it's really easy for people to sit there and say, oh yeah, we should just do it and be strong, but they aren't going there to fight and die. So, it's very easy to say that it's good to have a war. However, I have little sympathy for Iran, because it's a country which massively mutilates people's genitals, it hangs people in the street for being gay, it's not, it has loads of human rights abuses. So I do have limited sympathy with them, to be fair.
Okay, Ben.
I've got a lot to say about this one, so I'm in danger of rambling. What shocked me most about this so far is that Iran, of all countries, are trying to take the moral high ground, and that people are actually buying it.
Yeah,
Rose McGowan, the American actress, wrote an apology tweet to the people of Iran, of all countries, saying how sorry she was that her country had acted in such a way. I've never seen so many liberals defending a fascist state that wants to see them all dead. The problem is with Iran, they're a pound shop North Korea, really. They're just another state that doesn't like the West. Really, they just kind of chunter on and say, we will kill you, and that stuff. The problem is with them that they are now getting to a point where they are starting to become a danger. When you attack another country's assets on your soil, that is no different from attacking their assets on home soil. And they wholeheartedly, nobody actually wants a war, but they wholeheartedly deserved for that bloke to be shot out of his car. I'm chuntering now. Everybody's not.
Can I just say, I completely agree with you. I've got to say, look, what people forget is Obama basically did this stupid soft deal that said, I'm going to bung you a couple of $1 billion and you'll please don't do anything to us. And they then went off and spent those dollars on terrorism. Yeah. And this guy that has been executed was a horrible, monstrous terrorist, and good riddance to bad rubbish. Good riddance to him.
Iran is a massive, massive state sponsor of terrorism. And they get away with it because they've had concessions from the Obama administration for years, almost a decade of concessions. And I think people have very quickly forgotten that in the last year alone, Iran attacked and captured foreign assets. They attacked tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. They shot down a US drone, and nothing happened. There were harsh words shared about it, but nothing happened. Then they attack a UN embassy, and the US strikes back, and all hell breaks loose. I think for Donald Trump standards, who's normally a bit kind of rush in and ask questions later, he's actually acted very reservedly on this.
I think so too.
And I think at this point, I think Soleimani's dead. They fired a few useless shots back at an American airbase or whatever it was. I think at this point, it's kind of fair and square. I'd say draw a line under the sand in it. Iran is never going to improve. They're always going to be a problem for as long as they've got the ultra-fascists in government. But I think in this particular debacle, I think what's done is done. It should have a line drawn under it now.
Yeah, and it looks like from the news reports today that Trump is saying, he's still being strong though. What I like about him is they've got used to America taking anything that's given to them, because they've had a bunch of softies, and then in comes Trump, and Trump, they don't know what he's going to do next. And the fact that he did that out of nowhere has absolutely rattled them. And I think there's a real deterrent now, because if you're a leader in Iran and you want to take a decision to get America back, you know you might be dead tomorrow. That's gotta wake you up, hasn't it? What do you think, Susan? I haven't forgotten you.
No, you're fine. I agree with Sam and I agree with Ben massively. I think it's very, very easy for people to sit back and say what should be done and what shouldn't be done, but it's not their call. Hindsight's an amazing thing, and I think Trump has made a warning shot, basically, and that's a pack it in. And Iran's done the whole throw the dolly out the pram and done a few, like I said, missiles in the dirt just to show to save face, but not actually to do anything.
Yeah.
I don't think they're that stupid to take on America.
Because he has smashed them to bits.
I think Trump will, if given if need be, he will go to bat for his country.
Yeah.
Easy. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one thing I would say to you, Ben, because you were talking about the liberal lovies and the things they've said defending Iran, and you're absolutely right about that. But if you really want to see one that will make your blood boil, watch Michael Moore's podcast on it. Because that is absolutely shocking. He might as well just go and emigrate to Iran and become an Iranian, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, so we had a good talk about that. It's time to move on. And agenda item 3, a bit more close to home. There's news today that Steve Barclay MP, the Brexit Secretary, clashed with the BBC host Rachel Burden as she accused him of being disingenuous in his comparison between Boris Johnson's achievement of finalising the withdrawal bill with the EU and the chance of successfully concluding trade talks by the end of 2020. So the BBC Radio 5 host argued it would be unlikely for the government to finalise a post-Brexit deal with the EU by the end of the year. And Steve Barclay said to her, well, that's what they said about Boris Johnson getting another deal, and there he went and did it, didn't he? So she said he was disingenuous, and then he basically smashed her to bits in the argument.
Well, physically or...
No, not physically, of course. He expressed a lot of confidence in negotiating a trade agreement with the EU. It said the 11th month transition will be fine. Did not rule out a no-deal arrangement, though, which is, I think, exactly what we want to hear. I mean, I thought that he had a very strong showing in the interview. He seems to have received praise for it. He's doing well. What do you think, Jonathan?
I didn't actually see him in this interview, but he's been consistent always about his approach to the EU. He is a good, he's a competent negotiator. He is good at what he does, and it wouldn't surprise me if he stood his ground.
He's got a lot better on TV though, hasn't he? Because he wasn't always as good on TV.
He's got
his feet under him now. Yeah. What do you think, Susan?
I didn't see the interview either. I'm having a little read up of it, and it seems to me that he came across really well actually and stood his ground. I think he's doing particularly well because he's so new to it, and it does take you a while to find your teeth and to find your ground in these situations. And give him his due, he's doing his best, I think.
Yeah, Ben? Big Ben?
Yeah, finally you did the bong, you missed it.
I went to bong, but I had a mouthful of drink.
You should have bonged anyway, just spat the drink across the room.
It is actually becoming a bit of a recurring theme that I haven't watched it either. So I don't have a lot to offer on it. What I will say is, whatever you want to say about Boris, at this stage in time, and Steve Barclay is a part of this, of course, being the Brexit Secretary, however you feel about it, I think they're very likely that they are going to get Brexit through within a very short time period. Because I did have my doubts about, after Theresa May, I've had my doubts about what was going to happen. But I think Boris and Steve Barclay together, I think they will get it put. If it's a no deal or a deal, I think whichever way they do it, they will get it done.
Of course, that's if Steve Barclay stays Brexit Secretary, because Boris might shuffle him somewhere else in the reshuffle that's imminent, isn't it?
I don't think that would be a good decision, because I think as we were saying, I think he's settled into it quite well now. So I really can't. I'd be surprised if he did reshuffle.
I'd be surprised if they moved him, but if they
Yeah.
did, I mean, the most logical place would be as Chief Secretary of the Treasury. He would be a complete shoe-in there.
Yeah.
I think he'd probably be promoted if he was going to.
Yeah, and that would be.
But,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we'll see what happens. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I saw it. Really enjoyed it. I think he spoke really well, and I think that he gave her a run for her money. Really.
Excellent. Okay, so that's covered that. So now we're going to move on to the one that I know we've been waiting for. I haven't prepared much for this, but everybody's been talking about Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes. And anyone who's a right winger at all has seen this, laughed their socks off at it. But before we go any further, I think we ought to establish Ricky Gervais isn't a right of centre person. He's just a real comedian. And he'll take pops where the pops are.
Yeah.
He doesn't. I don't think anybody really knows what his politics are. I've been told he's a bit left wing actually, but he knows how to. He knows how to roast for sure. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen it. So what I'd like to know is what you thought of it and whether there was a moment that you thought was particularly funny. And who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go on.
So I didn't actually even know about it, and it has actually seemed to have completely passed me by until it was mentioned to me last night. And then when I was told about it, I read it and really enjoyed it. And Ben is showing me something which is...
I'm not showing you, don't worry, Sam.
putting you
talking
off,
about you not to you, sorry.
He's putting me off. So I read it and I really enjoyed when he basically called them out about the fact that they're always making these claims about, you know, being left-wing and hating corporations, but then do all this work for Apple and Google and, you know, all the Amazon. So it's just the hypocrisy of it. And I really like that because there is so many hypocrites out there, you know, that say, oh, I'm really up for the environment, but then fly everywhere. And I hate corporations, but then work for one. And I just really like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people saying that what we're seeing recently is the end of wokeness. What we're seeing is that apparently these things go in 6-year cycles, and some people are suggesting the public are just so tired of it now that there's a backlash that's as strong, if not stronger, than it. What do you make of it, Jonathan? Did you see it, first of all?
I didn't see it, which is... But
I knew you were the only one who wouldn't have seen it.
Well, yeah, but Ricky Gervais is a very funny guy, and I think you hit the nail on the head. What consistently with him, I think, is calling out people for sort of humbug rather than a political viewpoint, just, you know, hypocrisy and double standards.
And that's definitely what he did, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, good luck to him. I mean, there was quite a bit. There was another. These were the what do you call it? The BAFTAs, weren't they?
Whatever the name of the
Globes.
Golden Globes, yeah.
Oh, was it BAFTAs?
Golden Globes.
Golden
Golden
Globes.
Globes. Okay, because someone was criticising the BAFTAs because there weren't enough sort of women and, you know, ethnic minorities and etc. You know.
Well, that was of course, that was one of his jokes. One of his jokes was that he wasn't going to say who had died because there were too many white people, and he thought that wasn't diverse enough. That was one of his jokes. Not my favourite, but I thought it was quite. And he said, "But you know, maybe next year we'll see how it goes." And of course, there's a double level joke there. I mean, you know, he trod the ground. He was very edgy in ways that people aren't normally brave enough to be. What did you make of it, Susan?
I loved it. I love for him to tell people that have like I said, drive around in massive giant cars, fly around everywhere in jets, telling the common person what to do and what not to do. The best bit for me was his job at the Harvey Weinstein stuff.
Yeah.
Like all the people that sat back and was happy to take his money and happy to hide it, but the minute it came out and said it was, oh, that's really, really bad. Well, you weren't so cocky when your paycheck.
Well, he said to them, he called them all perverts.
Yeah.
And then he said,
Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriend had aged or something.
That's right, yeah. He said, lucky she had or something. He said, you're all perverts. He said, it's not me that's doing it, it's you that's doing it. So it's really funny.
I was really impressed, actually. Really, really impressed.
Ben, what was your favourite bit?
Bong.
I won't be doing another one of these. I absolutely loved it. I think Ricky Gervais always hits it straight on the head. Because he's like the creators of South Park, because he will ruthlessly mock every single person, whether they're left or right, liberal or not. What strikes me is that all the people and all these celebrities in the audience, they're all horrifically offended. Some of the faces they were pulling.
Tom Hanks was the funniest.
Tom Hanks wasn't happy.
No.
The problem is with Hollywood, it's absolutely infested with these sorts of people, because these people get away with it in showbiz. I mean, look at Harvey Weinstein, how long he got away with it. And what I found most funny of all, do we all know Adam Driver?
Yeah.
No.
From Star Wars, Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah?
yeah.
Now, I don't know if you know about him, but Adam Driver was once a Marine.
Yeah, he was
US
the only one
Marine.
who was laughing.
He was the only one in the audience and who was laughing, and that says a lot actually.
Because he's grounded.
Because he's grounded.
Yeah.
He's seen things. He's seen things that other people can't imagine, and he's in a bunch of room in a room with a bunch of lovies.
And if you've
he's
been in the
only
Marines,
one.
you've been roasted anyway.
Yeah.
You know, you're used to
Yeah.
the way that people talk
Absolutely.
to one another when they're taking the mick in a good
But
way.
I think Gervais was absolutely spot on with these people, and so it's about time that somebody did give him a bit of a slap in the face because they've got away with this stuff for a long, long time.
Well, the last person who attempted to sort of challenge it was Senator McCarthy, and you know, he accused a lot of people of being involved in the Communist Party, and then they sort of released the papers, you know, 30 years on, etc. And it turns out they were involved in the Communist
How far
Party.
back are you going now? It's like ancient history.
It's 1461.
Well, I'm not back at 1461, but now you mention it.
Look, I don't know why her name has slipped my mind, because it really shouldn't have done. We've talked about it thousands of times. But what's the climate change girl called?
Greta.
Greta Thunberg, that's it. So that was my favourite joke. When he said, you guys don't know anything, most of you have spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. And I just thought that was really funny, really good. But I liked his finish, because in his end it was, don't come up here and give a political statement, because nobody cares what you think, F off, was what he said, which was awesome. And then of course they all did queue up to give stupid political statements nobody cares about.
I think interesting. What I think this is a sign of. I think the waters are changing now. I think if he'd made that speech 2 or 3 years ago,
Wouldn't have worked.
he would have been absolutely slaughtered. But I think you're right, Steve. I think people are so fed up of this now.
Yeah.
Because the world, for the last few years, has dropped into absolute insanity. And I think it is a very good indicator that now people are welcoming that speech. And I do think the waters are starting to shift against the elite now.
Is no one mentioning the Judi Dench joke? Or
No, we're not mentioning
No, we're
that.
not mentioning that.
what was
I
that?
didn't
No,
like that
we're
bit.
not-
She's a national treasure.
We're not mentioning that. It was so edgy, we're not doing it.
It's too edgy.
Alright, it was too edgy, but it was to do with her being in Cats and her sitting in front of a fire being like a cat. So let's say no more. But all I say is he coughed up a fur ball at the end of the joke.
Oh.
Anyway, look.
I told you they shot that. Ben's just showing us a thing from the Sun newspaper of them saying that the
Sun.
plane was shot down.
This is a disclaimer. I take the Sun with an enormous pinch of salt. All
The
right.
reading age of 9 to 11, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just to
I
clarify.
really hate that.
It's
It
not a
does
good
though.
paper.
I know,
It's
but
not
they
a
used to
good
say,
paper.
I really hate when people say that. They used to say that at university, like, oh, well, if you read it, you must be some sort of moron. And I just
No,
think sometimes people like
just the
easy
aim, just the
reading.
way that
It's a damn sight better than The Guardian.
The Sun, the Sun is toilet paper. But no, I just thought it would be an article of
I'm
interest.
missing
All
Now
of
they
my
don't
North
have the
friends,
boobies on.
all of my
Well,
North
I
friends
quite
kill
enjoy
me
The
if
Sun,
I'm-
just to give a bit of balance there. I don't read it.
You only
for
like
shit.
it for page 3.
They don't do page
don't do
3
page 3
anymore,
anymore.
Ben.
Do they not?
How old are you? You're the youngest one here and you still think that?
Yeah.
Because we've moved to internet-based stuff
Because even
now.
I jumped on that
Internet-based
bandwagon.
stuff.
Yeah, we don't do that newspaper stuff anymore.
Ben used to like it when they had page 7 fellow or whatever it was.
What I used to hate most about page 3 is page 2. They actually used to have the weather and in other little interesting tidbits, but you couldn't read them because
Interesting
people
what?
think that you were looking at the boobs.
You sure
You
the
had to just
tidbits
flip
weren't on
quickly
3?
past the news on page 2 you were interested in. Yeah, that's the excuse we used. Okay, guys, I think we've had a good chat. It's been nice to see everybody here tonight, so it's time to say goodbye. And we're going to say goodbye for Jonathan.
Well, last chance to use French, I guess, while we're still in the EU. So, au revoir.
And Sam.
Last chance.
Oh,
You're not banning
I
French
just wanted to
speaking.
point that some of us are going skiing the day after Brexit to France. Now that's ironic, isn't it? I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe we'll get trapped forever on the borders or something, like that movie where Tom Hanks.
I watched that.
That's a very good
Terminal,
film.
yeah.
watched
They
it,
added
it's
that
a
on
good
Netflix.
film,
Maybe that's
yeah.
gonna be
I
us.
watched it on Netflix.
We'll be citizenless because we're no longer members of
I
the
mean,
EU.
doesn't it make you really sad when they stop him from collecting the money from the machines?
Petty, and they stop
Yeah.
getting the tomato
It's a
sauce on the
movie.
side and stuff.
So,
Yeah,
I
but
feel
it
like the
happened.
conversation has gone slightly derailed here.
Oh.
Susan, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Sam, say goodbye.
auf Wiedersehen.
And Ben.
Don't
Goodbye.
Ben.
Thank you for having
And
me.
all together, Big Ben.
I won't be
Bye.
back. I'm not going to be back. See you later.
And we'll talk to you all soon. See you later.